rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. As-salatu was-salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome everybody from around the world. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem and this is the BAK show where we discuss things which are important to who? Important to you. And we are discussing issues that pertain to the Muslim Ummah around the world. Of course, I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem, and this is QNG, the Qibla News Global. So we are going to be going through a lot of changes here. As you know, we were under the OGN platform. We're still using that a little bit. But in addition to that, we're also now on QNG. Qibla News Global. So we're dedicated to bringing you the news and information that pertains to the Muslim Ummah, the news and the information that you need to hear and you need to see. Okay, everybody, we're going to be discussing some things here today. Basically, we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. Just yesterday, some Muslim organizations in Michigan, where they have a very large population of Arabs and Muslims, they embraced Donald Trump. I could sit here and I could tell you why they did that, why I think that that was a good idea or a bad idea or what have you. But I think the first thing that we need to do is let you listen to why they did that. So let's take a listen, take a look, and then we'll talk.
As the president said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war. We are supporting Donald Trump because he promised to end war in the Middle East and Ukraine. The bloodshed has to stop all over the world, and I think this man can make that happen. I personally believe that God saved his life twice for a reason.
All right, everybody. You got an idea in terms of why they said that they embraced Donald Trump. We're going to just talk about the reasons why they said that. Okay, the first thing he goes up and he says, this is Bilal Az-Zuhayr, and he says that we as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace, not war. He promises peace, not war. He also went on to say, we support Donald J. Trump for his commitment for promoting family values and protecting our children. He said, the bloodshed has to stop all over the world, and I think this man can make it happen. I personally believe that God saved his life twice for a reason. Okay. He went on to say that we as Muslims support this man because we believe he will be a president for all Muslims, embracing every race, color, and religion. He said we are with Trump, President Trump, because we want a strong border. All right, everybody. Let's talk about some of these reasons here. The first thing is in terms of Donald Trump being a man of peace. All we really have to do is just go back just a short time ago, where Donald Trump, basically it was March of this year, and he said that he wanted the Israelis to, quote, finish up the war. You have to finish up your war, is what he said. And this was going on at a time when they were raining bombs down on refugee camps, hospitals, schools, and massacres were taking place. And what does he say? You have to finish up your war. Okay, it doesn't finish up your war and stop the war. They don't mean the same thing. That means hurry up, do what you got to do, and just be done with it. Now, somebody might say, okay, Bilal, you're reading some stuff into it. He did say finish the war. Maybe that means, okay, well, stop the bombs from falling. No, it didn't mean that. And I'll tell you why it didn't mean that. Because he also went on to say, and I quote, and this is said in an interview with the Hugh Hewitt show. It aired in April of this year. Check out what Donald Trump said. He said, I'm loving the way they're doing it because you have to have victory. You have to have a victory, and it's taking a long time. So you can see what he's saying. He's not speaking out against why are they bombing hospitals? Why are they bombing schools? What are all of these civilian casualties? What is this? No, that's not what he's saying. He said, I'm loving it. What was this Imam Bilal talking about when he's saying that he's a man of peace? I didn't understand what he was talking about. This is the first thing. Then he went on to say that he's going to be the president for all of America, all of Americans. That means every race, color, and creed. Oh! Okay, let's talk about that. The first thing is, how long ago was it that Donald Trump, he was elected and took office in January of 2017. In January 2017, his first month as president-in-chief, commander-in-chief, president of the United States of America, he introduces a Muslim ban. The infamous Muslim ban. Now, for you younger folks who don't know what that is, that was when he introduced legislation that would ban for a period of time Muslims coming from, refugees and visitors coming from certain Muslim countries. He didn't do this with any Christian countries, didn't do this with Israel or anything like that, only Muslim countries. That's the reality of the situation, and that was from predominantly Muslim countries. Muslim ban. It was a big brouhaha in the courts and so on and so forth. They said you have to roll it back, then it was rolled forward, and he fought for it and so on and so forth. This guy, he wanted to ban Muslims from coming to America officially. And he did it in January. Of all the list of things that he felt like he had to do as the new president of the United States of America, banning Muslims was amongst the first things that he had to do. And he did it. All right, going forward, if you're feeling like he's going to be a fair president, and this guy, Imam Bilal, when he's introducing him and he's endorsing him, he may have forgotten that in 2018, Donald Trump cut UNRWA. Now, UNRWA is the United Nations platform that basically is a lifeline to the Palestinians, relief work. In addition to that, schools and such like that are all supported under the umbrella of UNRWA. So what did Donald Trump do? In 2018, he cut their funding. That's the reality of the situation. Okay, then when we're talking about him being fair, let's talk about another aspect of this, wherein he, in 2019, the Secretary of State was Mike Pompeo. So Mike Pompeo, as his role as the Secretary of State, he goes around the world and he's representing the United States of America and Donald Trump personally. So what did Mike Pompeo say regarding settlements in the West Bank? In the West Bank, he went on to say, the establishment of Israeli civilian settlements in the West Bank is not per se inconsistent with international law. So he went on to endorse an increase of settlements. In other words, the settlers are stealing the Palestinians' land, and Donald Trump endorsed it. He said it's not against international law, but all international bodies think and know that it is against international law, except for him. So once again, Imam Bilal, what is he talking about? That he's going to be this person who's going to be fair and can stop the wars. You can't stop wars if you're not going to deal justly with people, because they're going to feel oppressed and downtrodden, and you're going to have October the 7th happen again and again, and 10 and 20 and 30 different times. That's the reality of the situation. Okay. Then he goes on to, I wanted to bring up another point here, wherein back in November of 2015, when he was campaigning for for the presidency of the United States of America, which he won in 2016 over Hillary Clinton, he was asked about a Muslim database. In other words, that there would be a database that would be specific for Muslims. Now, there's no database specifically for Jews. There's no database specifically for Hindus. There's no database that's specific for Christians. This was only for Muslims. And then he went on to say, he said, I would certainly implement that. Absolutely, he said. And when he got pressed on it, he said, I would certainly look at it very seriously. Now, he went on after some time, after there was a huge backlash, where he kind of walked that back just a little bit. But did he do that because he was under pressure? Because he saw how unpopular that sentiment was? Or did he repent? Or did he try somehow to just try to maneuver his way out of it and just not talk about it, which is pretty much what happened, because when he got to power, the first thing he did was to introduce a Muslim ban, a Muslim ban. That's the Donald Trump that this Imam Bilal Zuhairi endorsed, and the Muslims in Michigan endorsed. We're going to talk about that, more about that in a second. Okay. Now, I understand what's going on here. People are saying, look, we can't vote for Kamala Harris. We can't do it. She has been complicit with the genocide. It is her administration that sent $21 billion for the war effort over to Israel over the last year. And then when she was asked on numerous occasions, what would you do differently if than Joe Biden? What policy changes would you do in a different fashion than the way that Joe Biden did it? She looked up and she said, I can't really think of anything. So she didn't distance herself from anything that had happened over the past year. She has no regrets for giving $21 billion to genociders, which are committing a genocide on TV in front of everybody. So people feel like, you know what, I can't vote for Kamala Harris. But then over here, you've got Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is an enemy to the Muslims, and he's always been that way. He's always been that way. It's not like this is new. I'm from New York. He's from Queens, New York. I'm from Mount Vernon. We know Donald Trump better than everybody else does because we're from the same state. You know, just a 45-minute drive from my house is to his area. So we understand Donald Trump and the way that he operates. He's always been against Muslims. He's always been against black people. That's just the way that he rolls. But he tries to hide it sometimes, and he's successful, but not that often. That's for real. That's the Donald Trump that we know. Okay. After having said all of that, so people are saying, well, we can't vote for Donald Trump because for reasons which we just discussed. We can't vote for Kamala Harris because she's complicit in a genocide and she has no remorse and no repentance, so she would do the same thing all over again. So now what do? Well, there's two options. You could stay at home, and I don't think that's the best idea because I think that given the circumstances, Muslims in America, their voice needs to be heard. Or you could vote for a third-party candidate like Jill Stein. Jill Stein has no mathematical chance to win the election. Again, and I've mentioned this many times here on this program, but so people would say, well, look, if I'm going to vote for somebody, I want to make sure that they're going to have an opportunity to win. But here's the reality of the situation. Anybody who's going to win the upcoming presidential campaign or contest, it's not going to stop. It's not going to save Palestine. It's not going to be Donald Trump. He wholeheartedly embraces Israel. After all, he moved the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv into Jerusalem and declared that Jerusalem will be the undivided capital of the Jewish state of Israel. That's Donald Trump. He didn't recognize Palestinians any rights to Jerusalem at all and said that that will be their capital, meaning Israel. And to show his support, he moved the embassy from Tel Aviv into Jerusalem. No other US president had done that before him. All right. So, why would you vote for Jill Stein? Well, Jill Stein's not going to win. But what has to happen is that there's got to be a punishment at the polls. There's got to be a political cost for having a genocide, or you will be laying the ground for many more genocides to come, because whoever comes to power will know and understand, I can do anything that I want and they will never punish me because they hate the Republicans so much they will back me. And that's a very dangerous precedent to set. Now, that's only for people who are thinking, forward thinking in the future. I'm talking about 2028 and other senatorial and congressional elections as well. So now don't think it's just limited just to the presidency, because if there's a political cost for the presidency, it'll make the other politicians think twice before writing Israel a blank check. So I think, and Allah knows best, that this is the way that we have to start thinking. We've got to start thinking forward, brothers and sisters. So let's go and see what we are talking about here, or I should say what you are talking about here. And let's start off with Sam, who says, are Muslims, if we agree they are true Muslim, are they Americans more than being Muslims? I'm going to say that they're Muslims because they say that they're Muslims, and I'm not going to say that they're not. I'm not. That's not my way. And but I'm going to say, dude, I have no idea what's wrong with this quote unquote Imam. You're endorsing Donald Trump, standing up there smiling and grinning with him when he was so keen to introduce legislation to ban your brothers and sisters from being there. And he and Kamala Harris were on stage during the debate competing to see who loves Israel more. And how could you sit up there like some kind of coon and be smiling and grinning with him and shaking his hand? Know for certainty that Donald Trump doesn't love you, doesn't like you, doesn't care about you, and he's going to drop you like a bad habit as soon as he wins the election. That's real, and Allah knows best. Okay, next question. We've got here Omar Horazay, who says, Assalamu alaikum, Bilal Abdul Kareem, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's the public consensus in Free Syria on the FSA in southeast Damascus countryside who are posted near the oil fields? The FSA is not posted near the oil fields. The Kurdish militia forces are posted near the oil fields, not the Free Syrian Army. The Free Syrian Army is stationed in the northwest and the northeast of the country. Northwest of the country is where Hayat Tahrir Sham is stationed. But many of the remnants of the Free Syrian Army who became part of the National Army here in the north, they have no connection to the oil fields at all. Yeah, so I think you kind of got the demographics wrong just a little bit there. Now, and then he went on to ask, are Jaysh al-Izzah and Ahrar Sham still around? Jaysh al-Izzah is still around, and they have their ribat points against the regime. Ahrar Sham is still around. Yes, but there are different strains of Ahrar Sham. One Ahrar Sham is loyal to Muhammad Jolani. Another strain of Ahrar Sham holds more to the principles that Ahrar Sham was founded upon, revolutionary principles. So while they both maintain the same name, they're not one and the same. So the Ahrar Sham, as you knew it, we could say it doesn't exist. It exists in name, and it's a very small faction. Okay, Sam is back, and he says, are the Muslims in Michigan really Muslims to sell Palestine and support Trump? It seems that they are more American than Muslims. This is really strange. You know, something happened to Kamala Harris, and I think I want to play it for you now and all. She went to Kalamazoo, I think it was, in Michigan also, because they're trying to play for the Muslim vote and the Arab vote. Why? Because of the electoral college system, the popular vote in America does not decide the presidency. A candidate could get more votes numerically than the other candidate and still lose. Well, how can he do that? Well, because each state has a certain number of electoral college votes. And the more that you garner, when you win a state, you win the whatever number of electoral college votes there are. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean that overall throughout the 50 states that you had more individual votes. That's the system in America. That's the way it is. Okay. So what happens is that the reason why they're playing to the Muslims that are in places like Michigan is because Michigan is an electoral college vote-rich area. So therefore, they want to make sure that they don't fall short because the races are tight, neck and neck between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and a few Muslim votes to the left or to the right could decide the race, and they understand that, and that's why they're out there in places in Michigan playing to the Muslim vote. But listen to what happened when Kamala Harris went to Michigan yesterday also, and this is the reception that she got after she was introduced by Michelle Obama. A few minutes later, this happened.
Fighting for America's future. And we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear
That was embarrassing. But she deserved it, and she deserves a lot more to go along with it. But that just goes to show you that, you know, everybody isn't thinking only about groceries, and everybody's not only thinking about just, you know, the cost of college and such like that, and all of that's important. But when people are being genocided, funded by your tax dollars, this is a different case. And it was good to see that the people there in Michigan basically gave her a hard time. We'd like to see a lot more of that. Okay, we've got Omar Guni who says, our leaders back in our countries does the bidding of the U.S. Ain't it the truth, brother? Although the image of the imams on the stage next to Trump seem absurd, sadly, it portrays the reality. I mean, you're always going to find what we would call a sellout. That's a sellout move. You're not embracing Donald Trump, except that you're a sellout. Or what we would say, you know, some people would even say that they're a bunch of Uncle Toms. You know, you're not embracing what Trump stands for. He went on to talk about he represents family values. This guy got caught on camera talking about grabbing women by their private parts. He's a known womanizer. He paid off a porn star because he got caught. And you're talking to us about he knows the values of family values. A Muslim is saying that Donald Trump, who paid off porn stars Stormy Daniels, you're telling me that he knows about family values? I don't see where that came from, brother. I really don't. On the real to real, it's it's crazy. Sam is back and he says, it's really strange to hear an American person who left the land of dreams and came to the Arab Muslim countries to live as a Muslim. And at the same time, you see people of Arab origin, Muslims in America, agreeing with Trump and selling their beliefs on live television. This is what is called madness itself. We are really living in terrifying days. And I wish I could say I don't think it's going to get any worse, but I'm convinced that it is. I think these people in Michigan don't know anything about Islam except its name. That is if we assume for the sake of argument that they are Muslims. I'm going to assume for the sake of argument that they are Muslims, but I'm with you. I don't know what they might know about Islam. There's a thing called al-wala wal-bara, which is having allegiance to the Muslims and disavowment from the non-Muslims. Now, I might understand that you may support a particular candidate or something like that. Some people feel like you shouldn't be voting anywhere. That's a topic of another day, but to get up there and laugh and grin and skin on TV and shaking hands with Donald Trump, either you are an ignorant, stupid head and you have no idea who this man is, and in which case you shouldn't be up on stage with him anyway, or you just have the memory of a goldfish and you don't know what this cat has been doing for the past X amount of years. I don't know which one it is, but that's having good thoughts about our brothers and sisters. All right, let's see. Takfiri Enrager. To answer your question, Sammy Hamdi has been going to the states to convince the 5 swing states to vote for Trump. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. I'm sorry. I know Sammy Hamdi, and he hasn't been going to convince anybody to vote for Donald Trump. Sorry, man. Sorry. All right. Let's see. Shafqul Islam says, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Bilal. Trump isn't an ideological Zionist, but he is leveraging support for Israel to get money out of the Adelsons and their casino groups. He isn't an ideological anything. He's loyal to Donald Trump and Donald Trump alone. So yes, you're right. I agree with you. He doesn't do what he does based upon an ideology or the values in which he holds fast to. This guy has no values, and he's displayed that so countless times. They're going to. I can't believe that these brothers, would get up there and embarrass themselves. I mean, if they did it from inside of a room with closed doors, you could make a better case for that. But you got up on TV and endorsed Donald Trump? All right, what the heck? Omar Ghorizai says, Muslims in the UF have no option of not voting, as our lives in Nina depend on their decisions. Endorsing Trump full-fledged publicly is not right, but voting for him tactically is not wrong. Your thoughts? No. You can't vote for him. You can't support him. Look, we're going to have to weather the storm for the next 4 years. That's the reality of the situation. Whether it's Trump or it's Harris, they're both the same. We're going to have to weather that storm. But you have to punish the Democrats, to send a message to not only Democrats, but also to Republicans, that to support a genocide, to support oppression of the Muslims, there's a political price to pay. And that message has to be communicated at the ballot box. That's the language that they understand. Now, if that is not communicated, then that sends another message that it doesn't matter. And that means continue to do what you want. We'll continue to approve billions of dollars to send over to Israel when we here don't have adequate health care. How are you sending $21 billion over to Israel and you don't even have adequate health care for citizens of your own country? The most expensive healthcare system on the planet is right there in America. Some people are hesitant or don't even go to the emergency room because they don't have the money to pay. But you got $21 billion to send over to a genocider in Benjamin Netanyahu. I digress. Let's see. All right, I think we're going to wrap this up here. Okay, everybody, we're going to be wrapping this up. Look, I want to show you guys something here where we want you guys to check out our new website that is qng.news. qng.news. You want to get up-to-date news and information about what's happening around the Muslim world? That's the place to go. qng.news. And if you want to, you can make a donation right there on our homepage. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. Jazakumullahu khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi